Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because we have so many people from all over the world. So I actually don't know what's time in your country right now. We will say just once again, good afternoon and welcome on our next webinar of Viking Malt. You can see beside me is Raimo Koljonen, who's going to be our main presenter today. And we are going to talk about two and actually three new molds which are in our offer. But the details I will leave to Raimo in a moment. From my side, just some short technical stuff, which are always good to know. So our presentation will take around 25 up to 30 minutes. And after the presentation, we will start, as always, our question and answer session. So all the time, if you will have any questions during our webinar, please type them down in the chat window. The chat window you can find on the lower right corner of your screen. I don't know if you are looking at from the stationary computer, laptop, or on the mobile, but always you can be in contact with us. So right now, I will leave you with Raimo on the floor, and Raimo will run his own presentation.
Okay. Good afternoon from my side also, and nice to have you online. It's been a while. We had the break during the summer, and now it's actually pretty far in the autumn also, and nice to be back. So today we are talking about Viking CaraBody and Viking Oat Malt, and then also something about a red active malt from Viking Malt. Okay, Viking CaraBody Malt, like the short film, you could notice it fits for quite many beers, and let's go through this. It is what we have written in our malt description. It is a gently malting and slightly caramelized special malts, and what does that mean is that we malt it actually quite nicely, but we try to make everything that it doesn't grow too much. So you would understand that as a Pilsner malt, it is not a very good malt, but there is a purpose for that. It is from the same 2-row malting barley varieties what we use in any of our malts. The flavor is very soft. I would say it's very balanced, but if you have tasted it, you maybe agree with me that it has a quite much of the cereal note, so not that malty malt at all. So that way it is very usable also in very light beers and also in no or low alcohol beers, and because the idea of this is that you use it just maybe max 10%, and it will give you a mouthfeel and some increase in foam, etc. Works also very well in darker beer. Key features is that, like I mentioned, low coloring power, and it gives a yellow golden hue. So you don't expect to get any redness out of that. And the main intention of this malt is to support the body feeling in in a beer, and especially it gives a nice feeling in low colored beers, which typically, if you use just like Pilsner malt, they tend to ferment to very dry end. So using a little bit of this CaraBody malt gives you the light color, but you have the feeling in your mouth that there is a quite full feeling in it. The amylase activity is quite modest. There is some, but I wouldn't calculate too much on that. So better do you have some other malt bringing all the amylases you need. We say that dosage rate up to 10%, and like written there, higher dosage rates may slow down your wort separation process. I know some breweries that has used more of it. They're doing good, but expect that when you go over 10, be prepared that there may be some slowing down in your separation. So make some trials and you found out how it is in your process. Anyway, Viking CaraBody is a unique malt. It's not any kind of a blend of malt. So it's made from steeping, germination, and kilning process, and there is all the time the plan that it will be a CaraBody malt right from the beginning. If you see some typical values, these are Congress wort values. So the moisture 5 to 7, so it's a little bit higher in moisture than a typical Pilsner malt. Extract is lower, 75 if we compare to Pilsner malt, 80, 81 in some years, even higher than that. Also, the color is low. Actually, it's the same coloring level that our pale ale malt is. And remember, yellow golden hue, which is coming out. Fan levels, anyway, to do it. And of course, these analyses are made from 50-50 percentage together with the Pilsner malt. So I know in previous page I said max 10, but in a laboratory, the standard method for specials is 50-50. So we also had some filtration problems, but there is a lot of things that you can do in a laboratory when you have just some 100 millimeters of the stuff. So fan level should be pretty much okay, so you don't need to worry anything about that. Protein levels typical, what we have also with other pale malts, Pilsner malts. Diastatic power low, and the attenuation stays somewhere near 75%. So doesn't ferment all the way through. And to see some high gravity results, you can see here in the middle. So high gravity means that we have a extract content. It is 16.3, 16.2, 16.1, somewhere around there. To compare with the Congress, which is this is almost a double of the extract content for that. So here we have a table that in upper row we have 100% Pilsner malt mashing. And you can see that there was a pretty fast filtration. So the first 15 minutes we get out 86.4 grams of wort. When we put 5% of CaraBody in it, it already goes down to 73, and then 10% down, it goes down to 63.9. So you can see that there is a clear effect of that it will slow down your process. But this is still okay, so we don't expect to have any major problems. The saccharification, it's happening fast. You can see a little bit the effect also that it's lowering of the extract content a little bit. But then when we go here, you can also see that it a little bit more goes down with the attenuation, that what has the effect here, and all what is the difference. You can have the feeling in your mouth feel. It's a little bit more thick feeling in it. Of course, major reason, like I mentioned, we try to make things happen that it doesn't grow too much or very. Actually, we want to it grow just a little bit during the malting process, so you can see that it has a quite high impact with the beta glucan levels in a wort. So it goes quite much up, and most likely if you have a very fast steering or something, you should avoid that, not to prevent too much this beta glucan gel with the shear forces and get low filtration rates. We did also test this. This was done together with the Technical University of Munich, and we had some trials that we have the 100% Pilsner malt. We added this 5% CaraBody in it and 10%, and we could have a quite clear effect of that. It improves your foam property quality, and that's one intention of this malt. So I think this was something that we were waiting for, and we got a quite nice result from this test. I was talking about this taste. It is rather mild, anyway, supporting the overall like Pilsner malt taste. You can see the CaraBody malt. It's with the yellow color, and there is a Pilsner malt flavor in the spirogram with this blue one, and there is a quite clear of the cereal note, what I mentioned, but not malty at all. Just a little bit malty, not that sweet at all. So I would say a quite small and that way a compact taste effect. So you can use it almost in any beer that this malt doesn't give you any weird tastes in it. So quite easy in taste. So if you want pronounce beer foam bettering, and that's the malt you should try and make some trials to work with. All right, then we go with the oat malt. Okay, our oat malt, we came out with this oat malt during last year's Braubeviale, as we have a tendency to do, and we have actually malted oat malt for years and years, but it has been for some other purposes. Not for brewing, but now we came out oat malt, and we selected some variety. So this is also a varietal pure oat malt, and now this is for brewing purposes. And I would say it's quite smooth, designed to give a balancing base for beers, and you can use it with many hop or in many malt blends. And our oat malt it's a traditionally malted product, and this means that there is a typical steeping Pilsner malt style germination program and also kilning program, and it's coming with it natural husk. So we don't offer oat malt without the husk. So it is with this typical oat husk. The taste is very soft, and I would also say here that the general impact is more balancing. I think all of you have tasted oat malts. It is soft taste. It's quite typical. You right away notice that this is oat, so you can say that in that way it is strong. But oat has this kind of tendency to go on the back, and it gives room to other tastes and even boosts them up. So when you do this trial, don't be scared. When you first taste it, it may be this is very very strong, but when you add another malt, it maybe just bring out this other malt more clear than if you just taste it just itself. So Viking oat malt, what we expect, it will be bring this creamy and velvety mouthfeel into beer. I would say into almost any beer. So it gives this kind of nice velvet mouthfeel. The key features with this is also that it is low coloring power, and the color here is straw yellow hue. So that way it goes very similar way what we had also with the CaraBody&Oat. The amylase activity, the degree of fermentation, they are also modest. So I think you should consider this fact when you are doing your malt blends. So I have a lot of questions. Can we do 100% oat malt mashing? Yeah, I know there are breweries that they do this. They are doing good, but most likely you need to get your amylases from somewhere else. So most likely you add some artificial stuff then, if you don't want to use a Pilsner malt or a small dosage of our, for example, our enzyme malt, where you can get your alphas and betas and make this start conversion happening in reasonable time. It's an ideal malt for beers when, like mentioned, you want this smooth taste. And we say we recommended the dosage up to 20%, maybe even up to 30%. But like mentioned earlier, there are breweries that using it up to 100%, but then you need to figure out where to get the alphas and betas. And then on a red box, I've been writing there that make a special attention when you're doing the milling. It is very much different than the barley malt because the oat is so narrow shaped grains that it needs different settings that typical barley or wheat or whatsoever. Good fine tuning with the mill in most cases is needed. Here is one example in a left lower corner. It's a picture, and it's from our pilot brewery roller mill. You can see the rolls there, and then there is the gap. And I did some trials, and we set the gap to 0.6 millimeters, and here you can see how was the particle size distribution, but in the picture you can see a lot of whole kernels, and I would say this is very, very poor milling results. So most likely you don't get too much extract out of this, and most likely it doesn't saccharify at all, or you have a whole kernels almost I don't know, huge percent. So we tightened up the gap to 0.4, and with our mill, there are still some whole kernels remaining, and it's not the perfect solution. So then we went down to 0.3, and this started to look a little bit like what we did. Actually, with our mill, and of course this is not any kind of super mill. If you have a four roller or these better rolling mills, you don't need to do it. But like in our pilot, we actually did this gap 0.3 and we run it twice, and we could get in actual the result that what we wanted, and there was no problem or any delays with our brewing trials. But make special attention. Here is one other picture. Here is on the left upper corner, there is a picture of the breweries that use some kind of a filter like Mura filter or Nordon filtration systems or whatsoever. And this is done with the hammer mill, and the upper right corner is with some disc mill that didn't mill too much because the gap was very much too big. Of course, if we think about these hammer mill trials, you can see in a lower picture where this big red arrow is that there is actually quite nice thin husk particles that they make the channels that the filter and working as a filtration aid that way, that you can have a nice clear wort out of that. But for many breweries who use a lauter tune, of course, this milling is too fine. But like a hammer mill has a very, very wide variety of different screens that maybe even in some cases it's possible to use them with the lauter tunes. But most likely not. So when you use a disc mill or roller mill, make a special settings for oat. Typical values from Congress wort moisture. Of course, this moisture is measured directly from a oat kernel. Roughly about 6 extract is clearly lower than in a Pilsner malt, so 63 here. The color is low, 4.5, and gives this straw yellow hue. So that way, very typical to CaraBody, to Pilsner malt, to pale ale malt, to our golden ale malt. So yellow straw golden hue in a malt. Still with this 50-50 mashing, 130 the fan levels, and with the Pilsner malt, the saccharification happened in 15 minutes. Most cases with the Pilsner malt, it happens in a below 5 minutes, so it takes some time. pH quite normal, I would say, pH 6, and diastatic power. There is a little diastatic power also left in here, but like I said, alpha amylases are really, really low, so they tend to be somewhere between 10 to 25. So that way, think about these amylases. Where are you going to get it? Protein levels with these varieties, what we had, you typically 11.5. Also with the high gravity words we got this, and there was from 100% Pilsner malt, 20% oat malt in it, 40% oat malt. So you can see a clear effect on the wort extract content. And here is something to consider. So the filtration area, which is calculated from this 15-minute, and then you have 30 minutes and etc. And you go up to 1 hour. So you can see it dramatically drops. Of course, this is just a laboratory things. We can't change anything in your brew house. If you go over this 20 or 30%, what we recommend, you may keep this much higher level, but because this is a standard procedure how we do this high gravities, we actually can't change too much. But you can see that it is clearly going putting this filtration down. So that's why we recommend 20, maybe up to 30% of the dosage. But like I mentioned, some do it 100% also. About the taste, I would say there is, if you evaluate it just by itself, like mentioned, it has quite a lot of character in it, and the sensation is unique, but it's very flexible, and in most cases it settles itself in a background and gives support to other malt best characters. So if you taste for example, like Munich malt, you get the sensation. If you blend it together with the oat, you have a little bit maybe even stronger Munich malt sensation, because you have the base layer from the oat, and then you can start to taste the Munich even better. So great base for many beers. Then we go to Red Active, and with the Red Active, no movie today, maybe someday, but not today. And Red Active is a malt that is launched also, I would say, quite recently. It is a rather new malt from our portfolio, and we have it malted from special selected 2-row barley varieties. And the idea of the whole malt is that it will bring the amylase activity, it will bring a quite strong red hue and very malty character into beers. And I would say that Viking Red Active is very rare malt, and it has a high activity, and the coloring power is anyway strong. So typically when you combine these two features of malt, color and strong color and activity, you will lose the other. But in the Red Active malt, we have been able to remain both of these. Here you have in a picture of a sample of 100% Red Active. Then you can see 50-50 with caramel 50. So the color is actually the same. And here you can see a blend of caramel 50, 30%, and red ale malt 20%, and still we are in the same. And this is pretty nice. Sample here is a Red Active, and you have put the wheat malt in it, 50-50 basis, and I have also a recipe in our recipe book, which was an orange wheat beer, and I went down with 50-50 and also with 60-40 of percentage, and to go down in this nice orange color. But this is also a nice example that most brewers don't think Red Active that you can use this kind of special malt also as a base malt. So if you don't, you can actually take amylase activity from Red Active malt if wanted. But if you don't do it, you blend in some Pilsner malt, and with Pilsner malt, you also dilute it even more. Here is a wanted effect to go down to this orange color. But if you use 50% of this golden or straw yellow, you may even go in much lower in a color. Well, maybe, but if your target was to do like red ale or whatsoever, so keep this in mind. So strong color formation, activity level, enough to be used as a base malt. So you can actually dose it up to 100% if you want it. And this is a very nice feature if you want it. This makes this malt very usable in non-alcoholic or low alcohol beers because it's strong. You can use it even 100% just by it, and it gives still a nice boost in a color. It will give quite strong malty taste. And I mean these beers, if you want to do it, that your original CaraBody is already low in the beginning, and then you want to ferment it properly, and then you end up somewhere in very low alcohol percent. So this is something to think about. The pH is lower than with the Pilsner malt. So if we have Pilsner malt 5.95 to 6 something, so this is something about 5.5 to 5.6. So if you use it in your blend, it guides your mash pH to, I would say, an optimal mashing zone. If I think it's something like 5.5. So we go in that direction. The DMSP value is very low, so it is below 2.5 ppm. So this malt, of course, it has a color. We have given it a heat enough to get rid of the DMSP. You can reach quite nice original CaraBody, but the final CaraBody typically stays higher than you are learned how it goes with the Pilsner malt. And of course, in an original CaraBody, you also measure, beside the sugars, you measure also the proteins, etc., which are inside the liquid already. And we use this red active malt as a base barley. It has quite much higher protein level in the start, so you also have a more protein. It doesn't ferment that low in final CaraBody ratings, and also this makes this malt quite usable for these non-alcoholic or low alcohol beers. So doesn't ferment too dry, which is kind of a problem with many low alcohol beers. Here is one test what I also made this in a curve. We made this red ale malts and red lager malts, and it was a blend of malts where was roughly 65% of Viking Red Active. There was 15% of our pale ale malt. There was, I need to see, there was 12.3% of caramel 50, and then the rest 3.7 was red ale malt. So our target was to make quite clear red beer, and we make a trial with the US 05, an ale yeast, which is there in a blue line, and there was a higher fermenting temperature, about 18 degrees Celsius, and then we made with this lager yeast, this ferment, this W3470, which was fermented with 12 degrees Celsius. But anyway, we ended up in the same, so it should work out. I just take this yeast to do the trial because they are quite commonly used in many breweries, especially craft breweries. So a good example. When you get more heat, of course, the fermentation goes a little bit faster, but you end up roughly in the same. So worked well. Somebody may think why I put this pale ale malt 15% in it. It was just for the taste, because all the malts, the other were very malty and very strong. So I was a little bit going down with the taste of it, which is of course something that you always need to consider. Is the beer going to be good or not? But Viking Red Active is usable in very many beer styles, like red ales, especially red ales. Many dark lagers, bock beers, Abbey style beers, and I would say in any beer where you want to underline the maltiness. So this is very, very malty tasting malt. Some typical Congress wort results, and in Congress worts, the color is in 30 to 40, and it will give this a reddish hue. Fan levels, like with Pilsner malt, I would say minimum 130, and these results are 100% with the red active malt done. Saccharification happened in 20 minutes in here. Viscosity, nice. pH level, maximum 5.6, so it will lower your mass pH, and you can see the protein level here. I set the maximum 12.5 here, and it is quite close, typically 12 to 12.5. This diastatic power, 230 Windisch-Kolbach units, and we say that with our Pilsner malt, we always in a general specification, it's minimum 250, so it is very close to it. DMSP low, and the attenuation a little lower than with the Pilsner malt, minimum 76 anyway. So here is one example of a table of a high gravity wort, and we did different blends. So here we have in upper 100%, and you can see what kind of color you get it. We added 20% red active malt, 40%, 60%, 80%, and the last row is 100% red active malt, and you can see the color is tuning up quite nicely. Also the final attenuation, I think it's quite predictable. The more you put it, the more you get I would say in the end the mouthfeel and the thickness, because if you check out the wort extract contents, it was high. I would say in this tolerance more or less the same all the time, but the fermentation rate is getting a little bit lower. So what is left, you can have the sensation in your mouth. Filtration area all the time, pretty nice value. So 110, which is the lowest here, it's anyway quite nice. We haven't got any of filtration problems with this red active malt. And the wort color, it was 30 to 40 in EB's Congress wort, but now we have the double extract content, so roughly 16. So you can see that if you get the 100% red active malt, it's going to be somewhere roughly in 60 EBC in a value, which is quite strong coloring. And here, once more, the flavor is very malty. I would say you have some nutty sensation. Anyway, clearly a little bit roastiness in it, because it has a good impact of temperature in the end. And in general, this is a quite strong malt. It has a strong activity, but it has a strong maltiness in it, strong color in it. Okay, thank you. I can't hear you.
Okay, I think right now it's everything fine. Thank you very much, Raimo. The presentation was very, very nice. I have to say that also that I'm getting really, really nice feedback from my craft brewers, craft customers, which are using already those malts, especially CaraBody, which is really performing very well on stabilizing the foam, building the body, mouthfeel, and everything. And from the oat malt, we had also really great results. As you said, that I know some brewers which were using also the 100% malt, oat malt, and I tasted even those beers. They were a little bit spicy, with spicy character, but the beer was really, really great. Very round, very mouthful, and very delicate as well. So those malts we can recommend for sure for all of you to use them. Okay, let's go for the first questions because we have three right now. And the first one. Hi, your spec sheet lists that the max EBC is 8. I'm concerned of imparting too much color. What is the average EBC for a batch?
And we are talking now about oat.
No, we are talking, I think, about the CaraBody because the question
CaraBody, yeah,
was
that was
during the
yeah,
CaraBody
7, 8. Yeah, okay.
presentation. Mhm.
Um, well, if we think about that, our recommendation was that you use it maximum 10%. That means in a batch that you have 0.8% of the hiring of the color. So is it too much or not? We may be also in somewhat lower figures, but at the moment the specification is set that way that even the 8 may be a reality. But if the dosage rate is small, I don't see it is a huge problem. Of course, if you are targeting these very, very low colored beer that doesn't have even almost color at all, then it may show out a little bit. But yeah, that's how it is at the moment. But we really thought this way. But let's see. Now we are getting the new crop in. We will see how is the color value, and this is also the typical period of the year when we reject all recheck all our specification, and we see do we have any reason to little bit change them.
Okay, great. What I can say from my perspective, when I was talking to my craft breweries, they are using mostly of around 5 to 7%, and they actually didn't notice any impact of the color of the beer. They're always also trying to target for the light color beer, so the impact is not too much. So I can also say that you should try it, you should do it on your own, but it's not impart the color very much.
Mhm.
Good. Second question. CaraBody seems to be a short-grown malt. How many days do you use in germination box?
Yeah, it is a little bit shorter than what we do in a Pilsner malt, for example. In a lot typical Pilsner malt period is 5 days. 5 days. What we do in some of our plants, Pilsner malt is a little bit less, like 4.5 days. This CaraBody malt is depending the site where we are going in 3.5 to these 4 days of germination. So shorter than what we have with Pilsner malt, but we do other things. So we play with the temperatures, and we play with the moisture levels, etc., and also the steeping programs, how we create this malt. You are right. It seems, and it is a little bit shorter grown malt.
Thank you very much. The last question for now, because I don't see that anybody is typing anything right now. So, which are the main specification an oat variety must fulfill?
Yeah, we did some trials. We wanted this straw yellow hue in a color. There are some that gives a quite strong yellow type of hue in it, and then also the husk, the color, what we were looking a lot that it should look nice, very clean impact in it, and it was also this light straw yellow color. Some oat varieties, they have tendency to have a little bit gray color tunes in it, and etc. etc. So of course we check out that the protein level is not any super high. We don't want that, and of course the husk, we want it to stay intact all the time, because that's the idea of our malt, that it comes with the natural husk. One of the main specification, of course, it needs to germinate, because otherwise it's nothing good for a malt house. So we check also the germination, that it needs to be, germination level needs to be good. There are some also to check beside the color, what kind of the word color is, but also to check out is it a clear enough or very turbid level. Then also to check out how much fat is in it, because as we know, if you get a lot of fat or grease in your wort, you will certainly have some issues with the filtration, etc. Okay.
Good. Thank you very much. I saw that somebody was typing some questions, so maybe we'll give a minute from that. If you still have some questions, so feel free to ask us. What I can say from my side about the oat mold, because Raimo, you were talking about the milling, that you need to adjust the grain mill or the roller. Yeah, you need to make the gap smaller. So from my craft brewers with which I'm working, they told me some pro tip as well about milling the oat. So you can mix it with the regular Pilsner or the wheat malt. And actually they didn't adjust the miller. And they said that they had really good results during milling without adjusting the rollers. And they were satisfied from that what they achieved at the end of the milling. So the mashing was also very nice.
Yeah. I might add here also a little bit like an oat. When you mill it, there are so many different types of milling, and even so many different types of wort separation equipments, that it's pretty difficult to say exactly what to do. But the message is, pay attention to the milling, make some small trials and see what's coming out before you add a huge amount of oat in your mill, to check it first out. And then also one thing to keep in mind, that oat always it has this small hair below the husk, and oat has a tendency to stuck in many places. It's not just our oat what we are selling, but oat typically it's operating a little bit differently. That when you run, for example, crushed barley in a silo, and it comes out easily, but oat may have some issues, that it starts to pile up, and you need to a little bit learn how to operate with it.
Okay.
Okay, I think we lost.
We have one more question. Wait a second. No, the connection is fine, but I cannot publish the question. Okay, yeah, right. We have. In Finland, you use white oat. Have you tested yellow oat as well?
We have done very many oat trials with different varieties, and at the moment we are quite satisfied what we can offer at the moment. So I would say we have done quite a lot of tests already beforehand, because our sister company is producing oat extracts, and for those we have done these trials for years to go.
Okay, great. So I don't see any more questions, so we will be finishing our webinar for today. Do you want to add something, Raimo, at the end?
Oh, well, thanks for joining us, and keep on brewing. I hope you can do a lot of beer. Besides, we have these COVID issue going on all the time, and I know it's very stressful for brewers, and because there is restrictions. Can the customers come in a bars or not, or buy a beer or not? But as in a malt house, we try to do our best that there is all the time malt available. So let's hope the best, and see you in a next webinar, which Arthur can tell you when it will be. Thanks
Yes.
from my side.
Thank you very much, Raimo. Thank you for all of you for spending a great time with us. I hope you enjoyed that webinar. And as Raimo mentioned, we will see us in the next webinar in 3 weeks. So on the 28th of October, we are going to present you another great topic from Viking Malt. Have a nice day, have a nice evening, and see you next time.